The Islamic movement, also known as the Shi'ites, had last week said it will commence the annual Arbin symbolic trek in Abuja in commemoration of the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, the grandson of the Prophet Muhammad SAW. In a statement by Sidi Munir May Nasara, Sokoto, on behalf of the Islamic group, had urged residents of the FCT not to panic, but the Arbin is being commemorated with a symbolic trek by thousands of people from across the country. And it has the Shiite police clash has now become a yearly ritual. And what is the reason for this? How can both parties manage the situation to avoid future face-off? Let's speak with Kabiru Adamu, security analyst, on this matter. Hello, Kabiru. Nice having you on Newsnight. Tell us, I mean, just like the story, you know, says, it's become a yearly ritual, the Shiites, you know, confronting security agencies. We saw the one in Kaduna some years ago, about 7 or so years ago, where they confronted the former chief of army staff, General Buratai. Then we've seen them in the FCT times without number in the city center. Why is this so? First, a proscribed organization, and two, a religious observation. Should it be violent? Should it be bloody? Kabir.
Thank you, Christian, and good evening. I think it's, let me start first by condoling with the families of the lost persons. Of course, the police has come out to say 2 of its personnel have been killed. And then we also know that a civilian was killed. The members of the Islamic movement in Nigeria also claim that some of their members have been killed, even though they've not indicated how many. So my condolences to all the parties in the conflict that may have died. Having said that, the Shia is a faith. It's an Islamic faith. And I think it's very important.
I think we just lost, we lost signals there with our analyst there, security analyst Kabir Adamu, and our engineers are trying to sort the situation out. And let's take a short break and get the interview back on track. All right, thanks for staying with us. We've not been able to, link up with Kabir Adamu, a security analyst who is giving an overview of the Shiite police clash today in the Federal Capital Territory. But we have Frank Tietie, a Rise analyst and human rights lawyer, is here to look at the legal issues surrounding today's protest. Thank you very much, Frank. It is known that by a court decision, the IMN, that is the Islamic Movement of Nigeria, also known as Shiite, have been proscribed. Do they have, the right under the law to have, done their procession today and the attack on security agencies and even a civilian that was murdered?
I don't think we should be talking about issues of rights when acts of criminality are involved. Yes, human rights are all the time basic, and it's expected that they at all times their rights, fundamental rights, must be respected. However, what that means is that there must be clear distinction between respect for human rights. And interestingly, under the Police Act, particularly Section 5, it is the duty of the police to respect the fundamental rights of all Nigerians, particularly even those who are in detention, in police detention. So, as for rights, we assume and we take it for granted that the rights of all Nigerians at all times, whether they are ordinary Nigerians, whether they are acting in religious procession, or they are just carrying on living, must be respected at all times. So, so that distinction of, with regards to persons who are able to carry out such attacks that would lead to the death of armed policemen becomes a different thing entirely. You know, so I don't want us to proceed from that area of rights, so that we don't talk about right of self-defense when the police commissioner has, you know, said that they were not in any way, you know, deploying for the force of arms in restraining the procession in any way. So I think we will have to deal with the issues that precede the bloodbath today in the Federal Capital Territory, and I look at it as it's with sort of many actions that of negligence, particularly, you know, on the part of not necessarily law enforcement but generally governance, because this has been a problem since 2015. Shiites have been on the receiving end. 347 of them were killed in that particular procession, which defied the then Chief of Army Staff. And since then, they have, in such a headstrong manner, defied every form of resistance or persuasion not to engage in that kind of procession that threatens public order, that threatens public safety. So these missed issues are things that the government should have arrested before now, and it's very, very unexpected that the Shiites would defy such a history of violence that has been recorded between it and the law enforcement, and proceed to cause this sort of bloodbath today in the FCT.
Okay, we're glad to have Kabiru Adamu back. He's a security expert, and I remember I asked you, you know, the trajectory of the historicity of the Shiite security clashes. And Frank Tietie, a lawyer, is saying here that since the recorded clashes with security agencies in the country, the Shiites may, or some people, are describing them as bohemians, non-conformists, defying the law. Kabiru, do you see them as such?
I mean, it's very important to make the separation between the faith, Shiites, that is the faith, and then the group Islamic movement in Nigeria, which is one of the groups that subscribes to that faith, Shia. And I think that's part of where I see the mistake, especially given the remarks by the Commissioner of Police a few minutes ago. When you make that blanket generalization that envelopes a faith, then you are automatically putting a particular faith into an envelope. And what that does is that you are denying them their right of association as a faith. However, what was prescribed was the Islamic movement in Nigeria, a group that is headed by Sheikh El-Zakzaky. We know the history of what happened between the government and Sheikh El-Zakzaky. Like my co-discussant mentioned, about 300 of the members of that group have been killed. So frankly, there is no love lost between the police and that group, and in fact, with the military as well. Anytime the members of Islamic movement in Nigeria and any of the security agencies meet, you expect to find this type of clash. Now, what surprises me is that we have been following this Arba'ina procession over the last 3 days. Just yesterday, they were in Zuba and then in Inyanya. So we know that the likelihood of them coming into Abuja was extremely high. And it was very good that you asked the Commissioner of Police what kind of policing arrangement did they put in place to prevent what happened today to happen. So clearly, the policing arrangement was not adequate, unfortunately. And I think beyond what the Commissioner of Police said, they should set up a committee to look at what they did that went wrong, that allowed what happened today to happen. And I also think the Commissioner of Police needs to be a little bit more refined in understanding the distinction between the Islamic movement in Nigeria and Shia as a faith. Otherwise, we run the risk of falling into the geopolitical division between the Sunnis and the Shia. It's something that I wouldn't want to happen.
Well, sorry, Kabir, the FCT Commissioner of Police is not here now. He's done his bit and he's gone. IMN as a group, before its proscription, was a religious group, right? Wasn't it? Has it ever shied away from that? Is it a political group?
It is a religious group that subscribes to the Shia faith, but there are other Shia Muslims that are not members.
Yeah, but here, you're still saying it. The IMN group, subscribing to the Shiite faith. It's not the faith that is in question here now. It is the group in celebrating a particular religious belief. And this group is banned. Do they have the locus to have engaged in the procession?
So let me be the devil's advocate. What the group is saying is that their procession is a religious act. And because it is a religious act, you can't ban them. Now, that is the difficulty. And it's not for you and I to agree. It is something that I think the government needs to perhaps approach with some sense of understanding. If they are saying it's a religious procession, just like every other religious group, they perhaps have a right to carry out that procession. What they can't do is to carry it under the banner of Islamic movement in Nigeria.
Okay, let's get a legal opinion here from Arise analyst. Frank, what are your religious, submission? Legal submissions here.
No, you see, there's no doubt that this constitution under Section 40 permits, the freedom to assemble. There is also a description of such assembly to be peaceful. Now, I understand the distinction Kabir Adamu is making. However, let's get something straight. IMN was not proscribed prior to the 14th of December 2015 when he had that encounter with the Chief of Army Staff, the Chief of Army Staff's convoy. However, it was as a result of the procession. We must understand that the principal, duty of the police, of the Nigeria police, is to maintain one, public order, and then two, public safety. Now, no matter how, conscious or how much of a belief a group of persons have with regards to a religious rite or a religious ceremony, if it threatens the safety of other Nigerians, it becomes questionable. If it threatens public order, it becomes questionable. So what actually happened is a situation where a whole Chief of Army Staff and his convoy were on an official mission, and the procession put the life of the Chief of Army Staff in danger. And in fact, what would have been a situation where it was said that a group of religious activists shot and killed the Nigeria's Chief of Army Staff in the height of an insurgency war. That would have been a huge embarrassment for us as an entire country. And there was unfortunately and regrettably, we have not really, convinced ourselves whether our law enforcement agents are able to, exercise enough restraint or enough discretion in the use of firearms. Now, this is a different case with regards to what happened today. What happened today is that, look, we have had a history. This is about more than 8 years of having a continued history of violence between the law enforcement and the subscribers to the Shi'ite faiths, who either under the banner of IMN or plainly as Nigerian citizens exercising their religious rights or their rights to freedom of religion. However, what is strange is that how come that we're still, having a litany of violence continually? Why is it that the Shia movement must continue on a procession, even in the nation's capital, at the risk of threatening public safety and public order. Now, and I tell you, the reason why this keeps happening is that we have ignored the various reports of the past. We are in various commissions of inquiry looking into the circumstances that led to this. And again, what about the personality of Sheikh Zakzaki in this matter? Irrespective of the fact that the IMN has been proscribed, why is it that Sheikh Zakzaki is still in continued detention without a speedy trial, so that the Shiites can know their fate, the fate of their leader, and relax and stop putting the FCT in this kind of tension? Before 2015, the Shia movement has not made the FCT or Abuja as the epicenter of its procession or threatening public peace. But the personality of Sheikh Zakzaki becomes fundamental here. The government needs to do something, and let's put this whole thing to rest. And then we must continually remember that these are always, at all times, citizens of Nigeria, and we must guarantee them their fundamental rights at all times.
All right. Let me come to you, Kabir. Today's Bloody Sunday in Abuja, Nigeria's capital city. The police, commissioner is explained, they were able to contain the situation. But the Shiites, the IMN, let me use IMN, that proscribed movement, claimed that some of their members were killed, but we've not seen one corpse. None of them is even coming forward to come and explain their own side of the story and the rest. But must there, at any time they are having their procession, be violence?
Kristen, I hope you're not asking thinking that I'm a member of IMN or I'm a Shia subscriber. I'm not. I'm not. I'm only sharing my academic opinion with you. The reason for the violence that we're seeing is the distrust between the two sides. And this is well documented. There have been ages, Frank has mentioned it, of in conflict between the two sides. And what the reason for that conflict is in the ideology of that particular group, Islamic movement in Nigeria. The leader of the group, just like Frank mentioned, was arrested between 2015 and 2021, I think, or 2023 rather, before he was released on bail. And there are still some restrictions regarding his movement at the moment. Now that has been put behind us. But the identity of the group, of course, it has been proscribed, but the ideology behind the group still exists. And it is that ideology that we're seeing. So every time the group engages in its activity and then it confronts security agencies, the likelihood is that there will be some form of conflict. And what we need to do at this point in time is to seek to de-escalate. Like I said, separate between Shia as a faith and then separate between IMN as a group. And I also think intelligence can play a huge role here. Where is the base of this group? If it's in Niger State, how are they able to move into Abuja as easily as possible? If it's in Nasarawa, how are they able to move into Abuja as easily as they did today? So my point is that the policing method should be one that should not allow what we saw today. There are different policing methods. If you have intelligence at your disposal, you can use that intelligence even before it becomes the kind of conflict that we saw today. For people who were moving within Wuse at the time the incident happened, their safety was not provided for them. Persons were killed. Like I said, I know at least one civilian was killed within the FCT, and that's not a plus. So we need to look at the policing method so that we de-escalate the current situation. And where any group wants to practice its religious, rights within the limits of our law, we should allow that. But of course, where that practice affects public security or public safety, then the police needs to roll out and do what is meant. It's mandate actually, which didn't happen today, sadly.
So from your submission, is like there is this ingrained mentality by the IMN, to be confrontational, to confront, and disobey or overturn law and order based on its own ideology.
Yes, Christian. to an extent, at a point in their history, they were not recognizing the constitutional authority. So the base of the group is in Zaria, Kaduna State. And several actions by the group indicated that they were not recognizing the authority of the state. What they recognized was the authority of their leader, who is Sheikh El-Zakzaki. If he tells them to recognize the authority of the state, then they do. And that was the beginning of the conflict between them and the state. Now they've been subscribed, and I think this is not debatable. They have been subscribed. And as far as I know, they don't have any political organization or any structure for their movement. What they have is their claim to be a religious group. And that is where the difficulty is. If they say they're a religious group, how do you now prescribe a religious group? How do you prevent a religious group from carrying out its rights? Again, this is a topic that is very dicey and tricky, that we need to manage in a better manner than I had the Commissioner of Police stating today. You can't, and I want to emphasize that, in any way suppress any Nigerian's fundamental rights, even if that person is arrested. And I'm sure the lawyer will agree with me. It's his fundamental right. He has a right to be tried within the limits of our law. He has the right for you to prove that he was not just a bystander, that you arrested and presented as a member of that group. Several other rights that should be projected. I didn't like the fact that the commissioner implied in a statement that those rights would not be respected.
Obviously, Kabir, I mean, there are well-documented laws in our 1999 Constitution as amended from sections 33 to 40. The 40 is the religious right, assemblage, and the rest, but with some improvisos. But let's quickly inform you that the Islamic movement of Nigeria issued a statement about what happened today in Nigeria's capital city on its name, Islamic Movement of Nigeria. Frank, you're going to have the last shot. Define order and authority.
Well, the authority is any constituted group of persons or a personality that exercises power according to law. That is, you exercise the power as a matter of right. So we have various forms of authority. The police exercises authority in the area of providing safety and security and public order in this country. I cannot close without, expressing a few things about, our regard for law in this country. The base, the measurement of law enforcement and law compliance in this country is actually very low. So let us not, and again, let us give credit to whom it is due. You cannot continue to demonize the police for the deliberate acts of persons who want to disobey the law. So the police cannot be blamed for not preventing persons who planned to disrupt activities in the FCT today, who plan to disregard the rights of other persons. The police will just do its best, and sometimes in this case it is apparent that the police may have actually been on the attack on the grounds that it has lost its men. And on the other hand, we cannot also understand why a group of persons will continue to engage in total disregard of public order and disregard of authority. But I must also say that and I agree with my friend Kabir Adamu, that our level of trust in the police is very low. Even among general citizens. However, citizens of this country, take a good example of what goes on in the FCT. We have a very low compliance level to law. We disregard order, we disregard law. If drive around the FCT for just one day, and you'll see 90% disregard for traffic law. That is the barometer. That is the indication of how Nigerians feel about our laws. Yeah. And that is the same way, whoever thinks about whatever order or whatever, advice the police gives. So there is we're approaching a state of anomy, disregard for authority. Now, something urgent has to be done, and I think it has to start from the top. And saying that, look, Obedience to law, it's not a political matter. It's a matter of survival. It's a matter of preservation of the society for tomorrow. So when laws are made, however bad they are, let all of us submit to them first, and then we can complain later, so that we can have some predictable...
Or you challenge the law in the court of law. That's why you have the judiciary there.
That is the orderly process.
Absolutely.
And not turn the whole place upside down, and then we'll be at war with ourselves the way we are saying. It's so sad. Policemen killed. I mean, it's very, very... No matter what you think about Nigerian police, a man who has a family goes out to ensure law enforcement, and then you kill him.
And it's
a national embarrassment, and then things are taken gently. I understand the commissioner of police. However incoherent he may have sounded tonight, it is simply because man cannot keep his emotions. You are presiding, you are leading men who are supposed to make us sleep at night, ensure order, and then they get killed because some persons are serving God. For goodness sake.
Thank you very much. I think no better place to draw the curtain on this discussion with Kabir Adamu, Arise security expert, and Frank Tietie, a lawyer and Arise analyst. Thanks, gentlemen.